I would anticipate that this is not the only operation that ISIL has in the pipeline. And security intelligence services right now in Europe and other places are working feverishly to see what else they can do in terms of uncovering it.
CIA Director John Brennan renewing the debate about surveillance in the wake of deadly Paris attacks. He says the recent unauthorized disclosures about government surveillance programs have led to policy changes, making it more challenging to stop these terrorists. He's talking about the Edward Snowden revelations. All of this comes as ISIS releases this new video, and it threatens to strike again, and is very specific, in fact. It says that they did Paris and that Washington, D.C. will be next. Now let's go to Washington, D.C., where we're joined by Illinois Congressman Adam Kinzinger, who's a pilot in the Air National Guard. Congressman, welcome. Good to have you here today.
Thanks. Good to be here.
So now, you have the president talking about the fact that this is basically, killers who are seeking glory, and they are pretty good at social media. And then you've got John Brennan standing up and saying, be ready, folks, because the next hit is likely here at home.
Well, look, at the risk of, quote, popping off here, let me say this. I'm going to say the same thing I said 26 months ago. 26 months ago, I said we must destroy ISIS before ISIS destroys us. Today, I'm going to say we must destroy ISIS before ISIS destroys us. 26 months ago, there were a few thousand of them, barely even heard of. Today, there's tens of thousands. What's going to happen in a year? And what we saw yesterday was a president in a press conference more concerned about his reputation, saying I and me more times than addressing the terrorism that came to Paris. And so am I worried about an attack in Washington, D.C.? Absolutely, because I think we have an administration with their head in the sand, unwilling to accept the fact that ISIS is a destructive cancer that now just doesn't reach out to other countries in the Middle East, as bad as that is anyway, but now can potentially reach out to Paris, as we saw, and now to Washington, D.C. We have great Capitol police officers here, but I worry for their safety, too, if this comes to Washington.
Yeah. I mean, it really puts an incredible burden on the police forces in our cities that perhaps could have been dealt with more forcefully back at the original site, as you say.
Yeah.
And, that's not to say that they're not willing to step up to the challenge. They, of course, are. But it has put them in a very difficult position. I want you to listen to Mike Flynn, who was on Hannity last night. He, of course, is the former head of the DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency. Listen to his words.
This is the problem of letting the world go to hell and assuming it won't come back to bite you in the rear end. And frankly, and I'm going to be very candid here, Sean, our amateurish foreign policy has its own place of responsibility in the mayhem that we are seeing right now.
So what do you say to the president yesterday said, look, everybody loves to pop off, as you said, and he said the problem is that my critics, when they outline what their plan is, really outline exactly what we're doing. And he's saying it's very easy from other people's position to say what we should do, but that we're doing what needs to be done on the ground.
Well, obviously we're not doing what needs to be done because ISIS is larger than it was 26 months ago. They had an attack in Paris that killed a couple hundred people. Again, the president using high school language about popping off, I don't think understands that people can disagree with him, and smart people like the soundbite you just played. Look, when all is said and done, we need a strategy. Our military, nobody doubts that our military is capable of destroying ISIS. Nobody doubts that. The question is, to what level are we willing to employ the military to destroy ISIS? The president has said we'll do everything up to putting boots on the ground or too many airstrikes. Otherwise, that becomes the red line over the existence of ISIS. Look, if I was president, or the next president of the United States hopefully comes forward and says we will employ the exact amount of combat power to level this threat and destroy it for good. Now, that's going to maybe take some boots on the ground. It's not going to take 100,000. Nobody's ever suggested 100,000 troops. But it may take some boots on the ground, embedding with native forces, blocking supply routes of ISIS, doing what's necessary to crush this cancer. They are not good fighters. ISIS is weak. They only exist they're only good when they're among innocent people and surprising them with shots at AK-47 and bombs. They meet the American military head on, they will be destroyed, and I guarantee that.
Adam Kinzinger, thank you very much.
You bet.